We've all been there, right? You're standing at a crossroads. Maybe it's a career path splitting in two, or a relationship where staying or leaving feels like tearing your life in half. Every option feels overwhelming, just packed with anxiety. That fear of making the wrong move, of the regret that could follow, it's paralyzing. You've made the pro-con lists. You've asked your friends, your family, your mentors for advice. And now you're just drowning in a sea of what-ifs, conflicting opinions, and the crushing weight of what you think you're supposed to do. Your own mind, which should be your best friend in these moments, is just filled with noise. It's a storm of second-guessing and fear. But what if I told you there's an ancient way of thinking, a mental toolkit used by emperors and philosophers to get through war, plagues, and political chaos? A system designed not to give you more information, but to give you clarity. A way to filter out the noise and make choices with confidence and a sense of calm. Today, we're going to break down the 3-step Stoic framework for making your toughest decisions. This isn't about predicting the future or guaranteeing a perfect outcome. It's about building a process you can trust, one that brings you peace of mind no matter where your choice leads. Section 1: The Mind in the Arena. So, before we get into the how, let's talk for a second about the why. Why should we turn to a 2,000-year-old philosophy in our crazy modern world? Because Stoicism isn't some collection of dusty, abstract ideas, it's a practical, battle-tested toolkit for your mind. It was created in the real world by people facing unbelievable stakes. Think about Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, journaling his private thoughts while leading armies and managing a massive empire during a plague. Or Seneca, a top advisor to the unstable Emperor Nero, who had to navigate deadly political games every single day. And then there's Epictetus, a man born a slave who became one of the most respected philosophy teachers of his time. These weren't academics sitting in ivory towers. They were people in the arena of life who needed a philosophy that actually worked under pressure. They knew that the quality of your life comes down to the quality of your decisions, and the quality of your decisions comes down to the state of your mind. So they built a system to make the mind a fortress, a place that chaos from the outside world couldn't penetrate. When you use their framework, you're not just trying out a new self-help trick, you're tapping into a legacy of resilience and serious inner strength. So, let's get into it. Let's learn how to use this ancient power in our own lives. Section 2, Step 1, The Dichotomy of Control, Guarding Your Mind. Alright, Step 1. This is the big one, the master key to clarity, the dichotomy of control. The Stoics believe that everything in life falls into one of two buckets, stuff we can control, and stuff we can't. So, what can you actually control? Your thoughts, your judgments, the choices you make, the actions you take. The amount of effort you put in. Your own integrity. And what can't you control? Pretty much everything else. The economy. What other people think of you. Whether or not you get that promotion. Whether your new business idea takes off. The final outcome of any decision. The reason so many of us are exhausted is that we spend so much energy trying to manage the unmanageable. We burn ourselves out worrying about outcomes we can't dictate and opinions we can't change. The Stoic, on the other hand, focuses their energy only on what they can influence. This isn't about being passive, it's about being strategic and precise. Let's apply this to a tough decision, like a career change. You're thinking about leaving a stable but boring job for something new that feels risky but exciting. The untrained mind immediately starts obsessing over the uncontrollables. What if the new company goes under in a year? What will my parents say? What if I'm not good enough and they fire me? This is the noise. This is the storm. The Stoic mind starts by drawing a line. On one side, you acknowledge the uncontrollables, the market, the company's future, what your colleagues will think, and then you set them aside. On the other side, you zoom in on what you can control. You can control the quality of your research into the new company. You can control how well you prepare for an interview. You can control the effort you put into learning new skills. You can control your own attitude and work ethic on day one. Suddenly, the decision isn't about guaranteeing success. It becomes about making a well-reasoned, good faith effort. You put all your focus on acting with excellence in the areas you command. When you do this, you take your power back from anxiety. Your self-worth is no longer tied to an outcome you never controlled in the first place. Section 3, Step 2, the Unwavering Compass. Let virtue guide you. Okay, so you've filtered out the noise by focusing on what you can control. But now what? How do you actually choose what to do? The Stoics give us a clear and steady compass, the 4 cardinal virtues. These are wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. For a Stoic, a decision is good not if it makes you rich or famous, but if it aligns with these virtues. Let's break them down for decision-making. Wisdom. This is about seeing the situation clearly and using reason instead of emotion. It's about navigating the world with a rational, informed mind. Justice. This means acting with fairness, integrity, and kindness. It's about doing right by others. In any decision, it asks, what's the fair and decent thing to do here? Courage. This isn't about having no fear. It's about acting on what's right, even if you're scared. It's having the strength to face uncertainty and stick to your principles. Temperance. This is all about moderation, self-discipline, and balance. It's about avoiding extremes and making decisions with a calm, composed mind. Think of these virtues as your board of directors. They're how you measure a successful choice. Let's go back to a difficult relationship decision. You're in a long-term partnership that's become stagnant, maybe even unhealthy. You're wondering whether to try and fix it or to leave. Instead of getting lost in the fear of being alone or the pain of a breakup, you consult your compass. Justice asks, have I been fair to my partner? Have I communicated my feelings honestly and with respect? Am I treating them with dignity, even if we go our separate ways? Courage asks, am I staying just because I'm afraid of being alone, or am I willing to face the discomfort of a hard conversation to do what's right? Do I have the guts to be honest with myself about what this relationship really is? Wisdom asks, am I seeing this situation for what it really is, or are my emotions, like fear or anger, clouding my judgment? What would an outsider see? Temperance asks, am I reacting impulsively to a recent argument, or am I making this choice with a calm and balanced mind? Am I controlling my emotions, or are they controlling me? When you look at your options through this lens, the right path often becomes surprisingly clear. It might not be the easiest path, but it will be the one that aligns with your core values. A decision made with virtue is, by definition, the right decision, no matter how it turns out. This frees you from obsessing over outcomes and anchors you to your own character. Section 4, Step 3, the Rehearsal and the Release. So you've separated the controllable from the uncontrollable. You've used the compass of virtue to pick your path. Now for the final step, which has 2 parts, the rehearsal and the release. The rehearsal is a practice the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, which means premeditating on bad things. It sounds a little dark, I know, but it's an incredibly powerful psychological tool. Before you lock in your decision, you take a moment to calmly and rationally picture the worst-case scenario. You're not doing this to scare yourself, you're doing it to prepare yourself. Let's say you decide to take that new job. What happens if you fail? Really picture it. You lose the job. Your finances take a hit. You feel embarrassed. Sit with that for a second. What would you do next? You'd update your resume. You'd call your network. You'd learn from the mistake. You would survive. By mentally walking through the worst that could happen, you rob it of its power. Fear loves the vague and the unknown. When you shine a light on it, you realize two things. First, the worst-case scenario is usually more survivable than your anxious mind makes it out to be. Second, you're way more resourceful than you give yourself credit for. This doesn't make you a pessimist, it makes you a prepared realist. And now, for the release. You've done the work. You've focused on your actions, aligned them with virtue, and prepared for the worst. Now you act, with confidence. And then, you let go of the outcome. This is the practice of amor fati, a love of fate. The Stoics believed we shouldn't just tolerate what happens, we should embrace it. Whatever the outcome, whether your decision leads to success or struggle, you accept it. You don't fight it or complain about it. You see it as the next chapter, bringing new lessons and new chances to grow. If the new career is a huge success, you accept it with gratitude, not arrogance. If it fails, you accept the failure as a lesson, a chance to practice courage and resilience. You made the best decision you could, with the information you had, guided by your principles. That's all any of us can ever do. The rest isn't up to you. And that final release is where that unshakable Stoic peace comes from. So, let's quickly recap how to make difficult decisions like a Stoic. It's a clear, three-step process. First, you build a fortress around your mind with the dichotomy of control. You stop wasting energy on things you can't change and focus only on your own actions and choices. Second, you consult your unwavering compass, the virtues of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. You realize that a good decision isn't about a good outcome, but about acting in line with your character. And finally, you do the rehearsal and the release. You prepare for difficulty with negative visualization, act with your best effort, and then embrace whatever comes with amor fati. This framework doesn't promise a life without problems. It promises something way more valuable, a mind that is ready for any problem. It's a path away from the anxiety of the unknown and toward the deep confidence that comes from knowing you have a solid process, a virtuous and resilient process, to navigate any crossroad in your life with peace. You made it to the end, which tells me you're serious about building a more resilient and clear-thinking mind. The Stoic path is all about practice. To make this real for yourself, I invite you to join the conversation below. Comment with the phrase, "Virtue is my compass." By sharing those words, you're making a declaration to yourself and becoming part of a community that's dedicated to living with purpose. Thanks for watching.